Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? Hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. Okay, what do we have for you on today's episode? We have for you an excellent clip. I love this. This is... You've probably already seen this, but if you haven't yet, you're in for a treat, yeah? I'm sure you can see two things immediately from this clip we're about to watch, yeah? We've got one clip to watch, just this one. But it's well worth it. The two things I'm sure you noticed are the same things I noticed are one, Brian Stelter, how can you miss him? And two, look at that big word up there. Disinformation, and underneath it, and the erosion of democracy. That's democracy TM, yeah? It's like science TM. When they say erosion of democracy, what they mean is erosion of their ideology. The woke left have associated democracy with themselves, yeah? Not you and me, with themselves. If you oppose them, by definition, you oppose democracy, yeah? So we have four people here who are up to their necks in misinformation and disinformation. Yet they're sitting on a panel waxing lyrical about the dangers of the very thing they project onto other people, yeah? And one of the young freshmen, I think he's a journalist student, he asked Brian Stelter a question, and it is brilliant. It is beautiful. We'll play it now. So we'll jump into the video. If you haven't yet though, please like the video, subscribe to the Hoggcast, hit the notification bell and share the video around. Also have a membership scheme which you can join. I have 9 amazing, beautiful members who honour and humble me that they support the Hoggcast in these trying times, in this little corner of the internet that we call our own, because I am shadow banned and deboosted. Okay, so the young man about to ask the question, his name is Christopher Phillips. He is a freshman at a university. Possibly the University of Chicago. I'm not entirely sure though.
Hi, thank you for coming. My name is Christopher Phillips. I'm a first year at the college. My question is for Mr. Stelter. You've all spoken extensively about Fox News being a purveyor of disinformation. But CNN is right up there with them. They pushed the Russian collusion hoax. They pushed the Jussie Smollett hoax. They smeared Justice Kavanaugh as a rapist, and they also smeared Nick Sandmann as a white supremacist. And yes, they dismissed the Hunter Biden laptop affair as pure Russian disinformation. With mainstream corporate journalists becoming little more than apologists and cheerleaders for the regime, is it time to finally declare that the canon of journalistic ethics is dead or no longer operative? All the mistakes of the mainstream media, and CNN in particular, seem to magically all go in one direction. Are we expected to believe that this is all just some sort of random coincidence, or is there something else behind it?
It's too bad. It's time for lunch.
Of course it's time for lunch, Brian Stelter. He did not want to answer that question. Look at his face there on the right, sorry. Look at his stupid face. And look at her face. And then look at his face. Look at that. That is the look of somebody who's had the truth come up on them. You see, because this is University of Chicago, they thought, look, why do you think they had, this is what I mean, how insidious they are. Why do you think they had this, disinformation and the erosion of democracy? Why do you think they chose a woke university in one of the wokest states in America? Because they didn't think they would get any pushback. They thought it was going to be a big circle jerk where they all kind of just went, oh, Tucker Carlson, isn't he bad? Oh, Fox News this, Fox News that. And they thought they would just keep the pantomime going, which is what society has become. Postmodernist society. It's like a pantomime we all don't want to be in, but we're forced to. So he didn't want to answer that, but the reason why I stuck my finger up like that when he said that is because when he said this about magically being a coincidence, everything all magically went in one direction. This is something I have been screaming in my own head for years. Right, that is a talking point I have been saying to myself, and it is so refreshing to see somebody else say it. He even worded it the way I word it in my own head, because it is like a magical, amazing, infinite chain of coincidences, isn't it? For the left-wing woke world to be real, for it to be reality, requires a never-ending chain of magical, improbable coincidences, doesn't it? Oh, it's just a coincidence that all of the mainstream media networks, all of the time, pumped disinformation and misinformation all in the same direction, all at the same time. Magic coincidence, isn't it? Why isn't that a threat to democracy? See, you undermine your own points here. Not him. I mean, Brian Stelter. He undermines his own point. Because he is here waxing lyrical about disinformation, and in his own, or not in his own words, but in the words of the sign behind him, quote, and the erosion of democracy, unquote. He's proven himself wrong. Because these people are essentially digging, and I mean this metaphorically, digging their own graves politically, journalistically, morally. Because they're saying this is an attack on democracy, that is attack on democracy, this is misinformation, that is misinformation, when they're the ones being the purveyors of it. And the more that they do that, the worse it becomes for them. Because we don't have to paint them. They're painting themselves. Yeah?
But I think my honest answer to you, and I will...
So he's immediately prefaced that... is that even a word? Prefaced? Premised? Yeah, that's it. Premised. I think I'm looking for the word premised. So he's premised what he's about to say with, I will be honest with you. I'm not saying it's always like that, but my advice is, especially when you're dealing with mainstream media journalists, if they say, I'm just being honest with you...
I'll come over...
Excuse me. If they say, I'm just being honest with you, they're probably lying to you. And also, sorry to interrupt it, he says, I'll come over there and talk to you after. Now, of course, he only has 30 seconds to answer, but that's not the real reason. He wants to go and talk to him after because he wants to give him a dressing down. Ooh, you're at university. Who have you been listening to? You haven't been watching Tucker Carlson, have you? Where do you get these talking points from?
But I think my honest answer to you, and I'll come over and talk in more detail after this, is that I think you're describing a different channel than the one that I watch.
I don't think we are. And look. What's this stupid... Sorry, I've got some on the screen. So look at his face as well.
That is a popular right-wing narrative about CNN. I think it's important when we talk about shared reality and democracy, all these networks, all these news outlets have to defend democracy. And when they screw up, admit it.
You are using that word in ways it doesn't even... You're using it just as anything. What does democracy have to do with your network's garbage reputation? A reputation it didn't always have. CNN used to be big in the game. It's not anymore. And they did it to themselves. It's not Tucker Carlson, not Fox News, not those dastardly, uneducated, working class Republicans. It's you yourself, Brian Stelter, Jim Acosta, Don Lemon. Who wants people like that telling you what reality is? Yeah? So he's using the word democracy in ways it shouldn't even be used. So he's waxing lyrical about defending democracy. What are you talking about? Does blatantly hiding information to the people that would allow them to make an informed decision about the people that they are electing into office, i.e. democracy, the thing that you care so much about, Brian Stelter, how would denying them the opportunity to read it for themselves, to look at it themselves, be democracy? This is what I mean. And I'm speaking to Brian Stelter when I say this. You're painting yourself. We don't need to paint you. You're doing it. And then you say, oh well, it's a popular talking point on Fox News. Have you ever wondered why? You see, this is the thing with the left, right? They are very good at dealing with, or at least broaching the subject of secondary problems. They're not so good with dealing with the original problem. And if the original problem in a situation was dealt with, there wouldn't be a secondary problem. For example, this popular right-wing talking point on Fox News, that's a secondary problem. Your original problem is your atrocious record. And this guy runs a show which is failing, by the way, called, wait for it, Reliable Sources. It's almost too perfect, isn't it? Almost too perfect.
But when Benjamin Hall, the Fox correspondent, was wounded in Ukraine.
So now he's going to guilt trip you. Now, this has nothing to do with it. The reason why he's bringing this up is because he wants you to feel bad for questioning him. He wants to signal his virtue to you, how much of a better person he is than you. Even though behind the scenes, he was probably laughing at it. Yeah, but look at this face. That is the face of a virtue signaller. That is the face of someone who's just saying whatever he thinks he has to say in order to get you to feel guilty. Because these people, they operate on emotions, and the very manipulative people. And a classic example of manipulation is to try and get you to feel bad about asking a perfectly legitimate question to a blatantly partisan and corrupt travesty of a journalist.
The news crews at CNN and the New York Times stopped what they were doing, and they tried to help.
Again, that's commendable. But what does it have to do with the question you was asked?
They tried to help him get out of the country. They tried to find the dead crew members. That's what news outlets do. That's how they actually do work together, to your question about sharing those kinds of connections and trust. We don't talk about...
What are you talking about? What are you talking about, man?
About it enough, though. We don't share that reality about how that happens. And with regards to the regime, I think you mean the President Biden. The last time I...
The regime, I think, who could he be talking about? Maybe, what's his name? Starts with a B. Biden.
Spoke with a Biden aide. We yelled at each other. So that's the reality of the news business.
If I was a Biden aide, I would yell at you as well, Stelter, to be honest.
The people don't see, the people don't hear. They imagine that it's a situation that simply is not. But I think...
So, the Russian collusion hoax was... You're just imagining it. Again, that is classic manipulative behaviour. Oh, it didn't really happen. You're just imagining it. It's all in your head, man. Let's just carry on. Come on. Manipulation. It's predatory, actually. So it's all in our imagination. It didn't really happen. The laptop, we just imagined it. We all collectively imagined it. Yeah, the Russian collusion hoax. It was all of us just imagined it at the same time. Imagine that. Huh? Jussie Smollett. He doesn't even exist. We just imagined it. He never really got attacked by himself.
Your question, it speaks to the failure of journalism to show our work and show the reality of how our profession operates.
Oh, you've shown us. You've shown, or should I say, Project Veritas has shown us how you operate. Yeah. So this collective circle jerk of journalists, yeah. Would that, because you're reliable sources, Brian Stelter, you're the best. You are the creme de la creme of journalists, right? So, when you get together with all the other thoroughly excellent journalists, do Project Veritas get a seat at that table? I bet they don't. I wonder why. That's the end of the clip. Sorry, I know I interrupted it a lot. I'll link it in the description, but whenever I see Brian Stelter, I just get this relentless urge to just talk. To talk and talk and talk. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section below. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
We have a lot of...
Shut up, Stelter.